Tiger fans, Greenville is a wonderful place to call home, and take it from me, a great place to grow your family. The housing market can be an extremely competitive and intimidating place if you don't have the right agent. That's why we recommend our friend and local agent Lana Smith with Live Upstate SC Real Estate. She is a native of Greenville and has been serving the needs of families in the upstate for over 20 years. You need an agent proficient in navigating the world of multiple offers who will put your needs first and guide you through the process. Let Lana help you achieve your real estate goals. Call her today at 864-608-8313. Again, that's 864-608-8313. And let's get moving. If you're looking for a great atmosphere and good food, you have to check out the Charleston Sports Pub. They're the premier sports bar location in South Carolina with locations in Clemson, Greenville, Goose Creek, James Island, Mount Pleasant, Summerville, and West Ashley. Watch all the games while you have fun playing all their games. Tiger fans, we dine there, legends dine there like Taj Boyd, and so should you. Go eat at the Charleston Sports Pub in Clemson every game day. 359 College Avenue, Clemson. Family owned and operated, serving Anderson County and surrounding areas since 1980. Heating and Cooling Services Inc. is your residential and commercial comfort expert. Anything from preventative maintenance of your home HVAC system to overhauling a commercial chiller and everything in between. If you want to breathe easier and be nice and cool in your home or business this summer or warm this winter, give Heating and Cooling Services Inc. a call today. Give Mark or Jason Tremmel a call at 864-224-7655. Again, 864-224-7655, and they'll take good care of you. Tiger fans, we don't just dress for success, we TS for success. That's Tiger Sports Shop. We shop there so much that they practically begged us to be sponsors for them. Not serious, but we do love shopping at Tiger Sports Shop in one of their two locations, 364 College Avenue and 1102 Tiger Boulevard in Clemson. If you're not in Clemson to check out the experience, stop by online at www.tigersports.com. Again, tigersports.com for all your game day needs.
Friends, family, acquaintances, foes, welcome to the new era. Yes, this is the Houston Burnett takeover of the Morgan Thomas show. I should say show. I can't even get the words right. This first time up being the host of the show, and I sound like I'm fumbling around like Daffy Duck. That's crazy. Just kidding. I'm just running the show tonight. Morgan has bequeathed me the reins of hosting the show, and so I'm just trying to change things up. Look. This is what we do here at the Morgan Thomas Show. We try to stay fresh, keep things going in the off season, and so that's what we're trying to do tonight. I'm taking the reins. We're talking about basketball tonight. Whoa, buddy. We're talking about baseball. Hey, they're doing great. We have some talk about football. It seems to be a war going on at quarterback and some other things that are going on about football. And maybe Morgan will talk about softball with us tonight. Who knows? We'll see what the deal is. But you know what? That's the Morgan Thomas show tonight. And so, since we're doing things differently, since we're trying things out a little more different, why don't I go ahead and introduce the guy that's on the same level of the name of the show with me, Mr. Big Al himself. If maybe our producer from that. Oh, there he is. Hey, Al, it's just
I'm
us.
Here.
Is this, you think we should just do the show just us two tonight? I think.
I got to tell you, if you don't ever introduce him, I don't think technically he's allowed to come on.
Can't. And I mean, I don't know. More, I wish we could get like a little blot to go on the corner, just the Big Al Houston show for a night.
I would allow it for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, but like you said, man, we got some good stuff to talk about. It's kind of been an up and down week for Clemson sports. So obviously it's football season, it's spring wise anyways, and baseball had an awesome weekend. Women's softball and basketball, not so much. So cool stuff to talk about, but hey, it's always good to have the conversation. So we want everybody to get in, of course, like always, and tell us what you think as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I guess I'll go ahead and introduce. Well, you know what? Before we introduce him, why don't we just say, let's read some comments. That's great. John Syrian, basketball this year. Vomit emoji. That's how I feel. Tyree Ross, what's going on, fellas? Kevron Harris, loyal listener of the show. Hi, Morgan. Hi, Big Al. Hi, Houston. Listening from Cope. I still got to figure out where Cope is. Welcome to the show. That's the Morgan Thomas show. We'll skip that. And then Kevron, once again, says Houston is doing great. And I can read between the lines. He's basically saying this is the best show ever. Like, that's just what it is. But you know what? Let's go ahead and introduce.
Rip the Band-Aid
off. We got Morgan Thomas right here.
I'm sure it was painful for you guys to do that, to be allowed to introduce me or be forced to introduce me. But here I am,
I
producer extraordinaire.
Yeah.
Keeping the show going in the background.
There you go. Well, we appreciate everyone appreciates you allowing me to be the voice of the show tonight. And, I do not take this lightly. Well, let's dive into it. The first thing that we need to talk about tonight, everybody, we need to talk about Clemson basketball. The end of the year last week, Clemson beats Virginia Tech. Everybody's like, hey, could this be the start of something? Talk about the NIT talk, maybe win a couple games. The bracket sets up favorably. That's what Terrence Oglesby said. On Wednesday, they're able to pull off a win, get a big win against Tech. Moving on to last night, playing Virginia Tech. They're up with less than a minute to go. You're at the free throw line. Everything seems to be good. But Al, I'm going to toss this to you.
All right.
All this from Barstool Sports last night. There was a guy that videoed the live stream. He had his phone up, and he's like, I can tell you how this is going to go. We're going to miss one of the two free throws, and Virginia Tech's going to hit a three. And it goes through the whole thing. And I saw several comments that said, I called the same thing. And to be honest, I said this to my wife last night. We were waiting to go. We had a little call that we had to do with another friend of ours during the game while it was going on. I'm surprised I kept my composure through all this, but I told Allison, I said, we're going to miss 101 and Virginia Tech's going to hit a three. So I don't know. I don't know if you felt the dread like that, but Al, tell me how you felt about the ending last night.
So what was really crazy is I was at youth last night, and then I had a meeting afterwards. So I didn't get home till almost 10 o'clock. I didn't even get to see this. I heard about it from you guys, and then I heard about it from my buddy Marty, and I'm thinking, thank God I wasn't there to see this, because Houston, I probably would have said the exact same thing. And people like to talk about being a pessimist when it comes to sports or whatever it may be. It's like, that's not it at all. As a matter of fact, if you listen to me, I'll tell you going into every basketball game, every baseball game, that I think we can win it. I don't care who it is. I don't care what we're ranked. I don't care what they're ranked. I always believe Clemson can win it in my heart. But at the same time, I've seen this play out. I've seen it play out over and over again, and it does not surprise me at all that that's how it ended. I'm just a complete heartbreaker for Clemson. Just a brutal way to lose. You could hear it in the players' voices and Brownell's voice after the game. It was just tough. It's the way that the year has gone, to be quite honest. We've had a lot of these close games and a lot of those types of things that have happened. We just have not been able to win many of the close ones this year. We've blown a lot of big leads. It's just it's not been a great year, and the injury certainly didn't help. But I really hope we got a good core group, coming back potentially next year. So I think we're going to be in decent shape. I know a lot of people are going to be calling for Brownell to be gone. There's something to it. If you want to make a change, make a change. I'm kind of indifferent to the whole thing. I'm just pulling for the Tigers, man. I really want them to get back up and get back to the tournament, the big dance, and everything, and just kind of be in the conversation.
So, all right, before we get into the greater discussion of what you just said there, because I feel like we kind of need to touch on that a little bit.
Okay.
But we will. Before we do that, let's at least talk about something positive. We'll toss this to Morgan. Morgan, PJ Hall, please tell me how good PJ Hall was down the stretch. I feel like he was the one bright shining star for most of the season, obviously, but last night especially, he left it out on the court, left it out on the floor, kept Clemson in the game. So what do you say about PJ Hall's performance last night against the Hokies?
Well, he personifies what Clemson basketball has been trying to be and has been marketing themselves as, which is grit. I mean, he puts it all out on the line. He is, the player's player. He is a leader on the field or on the court, and he is Mr. Consistency. Unfortunately, he's been dealing with a crazy foot injury that really, from what I'm hearing from everybody, is it seems like it's been going on for quite some time, at least maybe all season. And it's just continually getting worse. One of those things where you have to kind of like elevate it and then just kind of rest it. And that's the only way to get around, get it healed up. And obviously, when you're in the middle of the season, especially when you're in the January, February part of the season, there's no rest, especially when you're looking at Clemson's schedule the past couple of weeks before the ACC tournament. It was like a game every other day, which I think, was not fair anyways. But I know that there was a rescheduling that happened. So there was not a lot of rest, to be honest with you, for a basketball team. Normally playing one or two a week, to play one every other day was, to me, brutal towards the end, especially with Hunter Tyson being injured as well. But going back to PJ Hall, I mean, obviously somebody that you want to, to do well, and man, just a great ambassador for the team. I say this from the beginning. I would love to see Clemson get someone that can complement him. I want to see players out there. And I do think that they have some complementary pieces, but it's like he does literally carry the team a lot. And it's kind of rinse and repeat of what you remember from Amir Sims and from Blossom Game and from KJ McDaniel. And then it's just a lot of the same with Clemson basketball under Brad Brownell. It's basically, you get that one star player and then everybody else kind of rallying. They all have heart. They all, put it all out on their, they put it all out on the line every single game. I can't knock them for that at all. And, PJ Hall, he came up with, I think, a team leading, 16 points against Virginia Tech. And I actually think he sat a good amount of the game too, because he was injured. And then, he was begging to get back in, and Brownell was, at least from what I read, Brownell was like, "Are you sure? You're still, working on your foot." And then the trainer said, "Hey, you're not gonna be able to keep this guy on the bench. Got to get him out there, get gets out there and he basically wills him back into the game. I mean, when I was watching it, I was flipping back and forth, and they were down by 13. Most of the game, it seemed like halftime they were down by 11, and then 11-13 until like 5 minutes to go in the game. And it was all really, to me, all because PJ Hall came back out and really just grinded there. So, I mean, definitely you can build on PJ Hall. But I'd like to see somebody else be a superstar with him to just take that load off of his shoulders.
All right. So here's what I'm going to frame this as, because this is going to be the final segment of basketball for the season, essentially, unless something crazy happens, maybe, going forward. But here's my question. I'm going to read, just go with me for a second. Okay. Brad Brownell started in the 2010-2011 season. First season, 22-12, NCAA round of 64. They won the little play-in game against UAB. Close game. They blew a lead against West Virginia. 2 more seasons after that, 16-15, 13-18, no berths. Gets to another kind of crucial year, goes 23-13, makes it all the way to the NIT semifinals to lose to SMU. All right. 2 more years. All right. After that, 16-15, no berth. 17-14, nothing. That was the year that they were in the Bilo Center. All right. The next year, first year in the redone Littlejohn, 17-16 with a blown 20-point second half lead against Oakland. All right. 2017-18, Sweet 16 run with a loss to Kansas. All right. In between that and 2018-19, you don't get Zion. All right. 2019, NIT second round, lost to Wichita State. 2020, no tournament. Last year, losing the first round to Rutgers. This year, maybe.
I mean, are you knocking him for not getting Zion? Because
no, well, I mean, here's the thing. With Zion, he had that relationship, right? He had that relationship for years, and it was up until the last 11th hour that he lost that relationship. Now, it's Duke, right? We've lost players UNC and Duke, so I'm not going to sit here and be like, "Whoa, we're that good."
I mean, but, from what I understand, I mean, you didn't just lose to Duke; you lost to some former presidents. Allen just disappeared on us. He'll come back. From what I understand, you lost to some former presidents, some greenbacks as well.
Oh yeah, well yeah, that's an incentive. Not just that, but maybe a couple of four-door SUVs in a house. From what I understand. But anyway, that goes without saying. I'm just talking about postseason records, everything like that. Brad Brownell has been at Clemson for 12 seasons, 3 NCAA tournament appearances, 3 NCAA wins, 2 NIT runs, or 3 NIT runs with a couple of wins there. So I pass this to Morgan first. If you're sitting in Graham Neff's chair, you've gone through this. There is more than just a small a small group of people saying that there needs to be change. What would you do if you were Graham Neff?
If I was Graham Neff, I wouldn't do anything.
Okay.
I mean, I would keep Brad Brownell. I don't necessarily think his contract's in a situation where he can make a decision. I also wouldn't want to make that decision my first year full time as an athletic director. I would push it off to maybe 2 or 3 years from now, to be honest with you. I would push it off as much as I can. And to be honest with you, I don't even think he needs to push it off. I don't think he has any pressure other than from the fan base. I don't think there is no evidence to me that Graham Neff has any pressure to do anything. Even Radakovich, there was no indication to me, that he has any, and you get one good season and then he gets a contract extension for multiple years. So to me, that bodes towards there's a lot of support from people with power and money at Clemson, and I have to respect that. And again, I don't think Brad Brownell is bad for the program. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a good person. I think the players love him. Former players love him. Transfer players love him. Current players love him. There's nothing to hate about Brad Brownell, other than the fact that it does, to me, seem like that there's a ceiling. It seems like that the team is destined to go to the NCAA tournament every couple of years. The team is destined to be, destined to be the team with all the heart that loses 5 to 7 games by one score.
So the other thing that I'll pass to Al on this, and if you want, you can put Corey Welch's comment on there. Until B-ball becomes intentional across the entire university, what can you really expect? I believe if he has the tools to be successful, Brownell will do a nice job. NIL could be a difference maker for the program. Very true. Also, though, you're dealing with NIL with the Dukes and the UNCs
Right.
of the world as well. So, tossing this to Al, I guess my other question is, we've got Morgan's side. I wouldn't do anything. I to an extent agree with Morgan. I can also see the change side. But Al, would you not feel like the last, 2 to 3 years, 3 to 4 really, that there seems to be a feeling of what it felt like towards the end of the Bowden era or towards the end of the Leggett era?
Yeah, and I've heard that across multiple platforms right now. I think there's certainly a comparison to be made, and it's not. I agree with a lot of what Morgan said at the very end. Talking about Brownell being a good guy, good coach. Players love him, and I think that's pretty evident. These guys play so hard for this man. It's fascinating to me that you can lose, a 20-point lead, and we've done it several times. But it's fascinating to me that it can happen that much when these guys play so hard. I don't really know what happens there, if it's just bad luck. And look, some of it's just basketball, guys. That happens in basketball games, and it happens to the best teams sometimes. So it can certainly happen to Clemson. But it's just kind of the way it goes. I've really been indifferent the whole time. I've been, kind of a Brownell defender, I would say, for quite some time. But at the same time, now we're talking about here, Houston, you basically echoed this sentiment here, is I can see making a change just because you're kind of at a point where you just do something different. Could it collapse? Sure, absolutely it could. Yeah. But, you can just keep going like this and a tournament every, 4 years? To me, you got to at least aim higher. And I'm not saying, obviously, Brown aims higher. It's not that he's not wanting to make the tournament every year. But I think Clemson has to aim higher than that to start out with. And I'll push back a little bit on what Corey says. Corey, get in here when we talk baseball, okay? Because he's talking about the NIL being a big difference maker. And he's right. Like you said, like y'all said, it's tough to compete with the Dukes and the UNCs of the world. But Brownell has recently, in the past several years, gotten the support and gotten the new facilities and gotten all of that. So it's been there. It's been there for a few years now, and the results are really the same. Would the NIL really help, especially since everybody else has the NIL as well? I'm not so sure that it matters, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'm kind of indifferent to the whole thing. I'm pulling for a guy like Brad Brownell, but at the same time, I want Clemson basketball to be as successful as Clemson basketball can be. And if that means a change, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I won't say anything about my personal opinions on that. If you want that, you can go follow me on Twitter at Radio Guy Houston, or you can follow Morgan at Morgan T Show. Right, still Morgan T Show, right? At Morgan T Show.
The Morgan T Show.
The Morgan T Show. Sorry, the Morgan T Show. Or you can follow Big Al at whatever. I don't know. He's not on there, or at least he's not on there consistently. Yes, I did demote Morgan. It was really Al. It was a mutiny. We had a mutiny. We had a mutiny on our hands. And we revolted. So let's move into a more happy, surprisingly good subject, which is Clemson baseball getting the dub on the diamond in the West End of Greenville last night, 4-2 on the Michigan State Spartans. It wasn't pretty. It was pretty error-filled, if we're being honest, but Clemson found a way to win. And they moved to 12-0 on the season, getting a big win. A challenging series. We'll talk more about the series upcoming this weekend, but as long as you keep winning before conference play and you keep building that confidence, I think it's a great start for the Tigers. Al, what'd you think about? I don't know if you watched any of it last night. You were at youth, but going into this week and everything, kind of talk. Actually, we haven't talked since last weekend, right? We haven't talked since the big sweep. Yes, swept the Gamecocks. And look, I don't want to toot my own horn, but shout out to Casey the B. Cregan and Marty the Seldom Used Reserve Coleman for having me on their Twitter Spaces the other night. I was the only person in all of Clemson's media, Twitter, YouTube, everything to say Clemson would sweep South Carolina. And what did they do? They went out and had themselves a weekend. So, Al, I leave the floor first to you, man. Kind of give me a breakdown of everything. How you feeling about the Tigers right now?
So, look, I feel really good about the Tigers. I'm still – this is going to sound bad because usually when you play South Carolina, that's the measuring stick. How good are we going to be? But the fact that South Carolina has not been, the 2010 or whatever ish version of South Carolina in quite some time, and they were not a good baseball team really. And they have a great Friday night starter. I think that's pretty obvious. He's fantastic, awesome shortstop. They have some players. Don't get me wrong, and of course Eister's been a Tiger killer as well. So I mean, they've got some good players here and there. And I know they had some injuries on the pitching staff, but man, to go in and sweep them, I wouldn't have expected that. And something actually, Corey made a good point. I think he actually said this last night. I didn't get to see the game last night. Like I said, I didn't get home until almost 10. But he said Clemson, Clemson thinks they're in a good place when they're not changing their lineup. It's talking about the offensive side of the ball. They're keeping their lineup on offense the same for the most part, and that's a good sign. That thinks make you think Monty's comfortable with where things are. And of course, Clemson has been getting the hits. They've been taking advantage of some walks and some free passes and all that kind of stuff, which is what you're going to need to do. Because I still have questions about the offense, especially when we face a good pitching staff, because I don't think we have yet. We've played really one good pitcher, and that was Sanders for South Carolina night one, and he dominated. To be honest, I think he only gave up one run. I don't know that it was him that gave up the tying home run to French. I don't believe it was. So he pitched really well, and that's what I was waiting on. I was like, oh, here it is. Now the ace comes along, and this big time pitching comes along, and it's going to be tough. And when they hit that go ahead home run, whenever it was 6th, 7th inning or something, I'm thinking, I don't think we're coming back from this. Not in Columbia. I really don't. And surprise, surprise, the Tigers came through. They scratched, they clawed, they got it done, and then just dominated the second day on Saturday. And that was great. It was great to see. You just felt great coming home. You're like, man, we've got this under control. Some things to clean up on our end a little bit. Obviously, the strikeouts is something we mention almost every week, it seems like, and they continue to be an issue. Had more errors than I was hoping for. I just bragged on them, if I'm not mistaken, the week before about having almost an error-free weekend, and we just had several this coming weekend. Thank goodness South Carolina had a lot more than we did. So it was interesting to see, but hey, I'm not complaining about 12-0. I would never complain about 12-0. I don't care how you win. I don't care how it looks, as long as you get the W. And they're doing great right now. So I'm supporting. I'm cheering for them, just like always.
Hey, when you're invoking the years of 2002 and 2006, those are pretty two solid years for the Tigers. It's great to hear that. Hey, pull up Corey's last statement there. Now we're on the subject, Al. Wasn't I correct about Ammons at the back end of the bullpen? Can you give a little rebuttal there?
So I'll tell you this. I wish I knew exactly what he was talking about. He told me Ammons was our closer, and I knew that. I had heard that. Just kind of talked about on the radio.
He just wants you to brag about him.
He does, but he said, wasn't I correct about Ammons? Corey, you're going to have to remind me exactly what you said about Ammons, but I will tell you this. Ammons has scared me a little bit at times. Obviously, his first outing was a disaster, but after that, he's been pretty solid. And I told my wife during watching the South Carolina game, I said, I'm afraid this moment's going to be too big for him because a couple runners got on or whatever, and they threatened. But man, he battled back and he shut it down. I'm incredibly proud of Ryan Ammons. He's done a really good job. He's a lot different pitcher than he was last year for sure. So I'm not exactly what Corey is talking about here, but I'm sure he had some brilliant insight as he usually does.
And I mean, last night too, he wasn't. He let the first two batters. This was in the top of the ninth or bottom of the ninth. He let the first two get on. Let the first two get on and had a battle out of that.
There you go.
I think he got bases loaded and they gave up a run, but he got out of the jam. And they were able to pull through and win. Morgan, I know, baseball is not you're not your specialty, as you agree. But what insights do you have for us tonight, Morgan, about baseball? Were you able to go to the game last night? Have you started to get on the bandwagon that is Clemson baseball?
I agree with Alan.
Okay. Okay.
Anything that he just said, a lot of it I don't really remember or understood. What I will say is I'm looking at this Twitter post, and I think this is really interesting. It's something that's telling to me. This is from D1 Baseball, at D1 Baseball over on Twitter. The single biggest reason for Clemson baseball's turnaround, it starts right there on the mound. After ranking 10th in the ACC with a 5.00 ERA last season, the Tigers currently rank 5th in the nation with a 2.34 ERA this spring. So as much as I like to brag about the baseball or the hitting side of things, I mean, you've got, to me, I mean, it's amazing. You've got Cooper Ingle doing great, still keeping that average up there over 400, loving him. Max Wagner, loving him. I mean, Hawkins, the star of the weekend, right? He got the MVP. Corbett's great. Blackwell gets in there when you need him. Then you have his superstar, Caden Grice, everybody knows about. Then you got big old stud, Jonathan French, man. Knocks a home run, I think, on maybe Saturday or I can't remember what day. But, man, that dude can jack a home run, man. I mean, he just cleared the entire stadium. It was amazing. And always great to see the Gamecocks get shut up. Because they were really thinking that if they could take over on Friday, then they could – have a sweep themselves. And then what happened was they ended up getting swept and then lost to Xavier in the midweek, 15 to something. And now, everybody's on Twitter saying that just like Georgia talked about Clemson or breaking Clemson football, everybody's talking about Clemson breaking South Carolina baseball. And I'm here for it. And I love it. Anytime Clemson can come away from a weekend sweeping the team and then everybody now saying that they broke that team, hey, I'm loving it. Go Tigers. Let's do it again. Let's break them again. Let's run it back another weekend. Let's break them one more time over our knee. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Morgan, and I didn't mean to cut you off. But speaking on what you were saying, I wasn't even thinking about this until you said it, Morgan. I appreciate this. If you've never followed a couple of Gamecock pages and followed the trials and tribulations of that fan base when they have hope, and then when Clemson beats them, it is sweeter than the sweetest glass of sweet tea. It's refreshing. It's beautiful. Monday morning on all of their social media, radio, newspapers, you have it. Oh man, it was like eating a cinnamon bun for breakfast that day, man. It was the best. So just letting you know. But Morgan, for talking about baseball over the weekend, I know that we're not going to hit on this a ton because they had a rough weekend themselves. Kind of give us a roundup for softball before we head up for football for the final little bit. Tell us about what happened this past weekend.
Well, I got to watch all the softball games this past weekend. I'm really getting into it. An update on my personal endeavors as a softball dad. I ended up getting a different glove. I purchased a initial youth softball glove I thought was good enough for youth softball. Annabeth got out there and the softball glove is too big. All right. Her hand's very small compared, and then, what I was thinking compared to a youth size, she's not there yet. We go out to practice and we see a lot of girls with T-ball gloves still on. So I'm like, I didn't even think about buying a T-ball glove because it's softball. So what I ended up doing is going back to Academy, and I found a purple and white, not a pink because she didn't want pink. I found a purple and white T-ball glove that was the largest T-ball glove that, man, it fits her perfect, man. She looks like a legit professional out there. You get her pants on and her socks on, and that glove fits like a glove. And, like I tell Al all the time, if you can't be good, you might as well look good doing it, right? So that's what we do over here at the Thomas household. As far as the actual professionals, and I mean, I guess you could say they're professionals because I think they're so good. I love the girls over there at Clemson. They did not do well this weekend, Houston. I'm sorry to tell you that they got swept. So we talked about Clemson baseball getting swept. Clemson softball hosted Virginia Tech in front of a star-studded crowd. Dabo Swinney and Kat was there. Dean Cox was in the background, the hat, and I didn't go, but it was standing room only because the tickets were sold out, and they've been sold out all year. But the packed house, and the first game, as I mentioned, when there's smoke, right, you see certain things. We've seen it against lesser opponents. Valerie Cagle still struggling with her location of certain balls. She gets a wild pitch here or there. And to be honest with you, what I'm seeing now is exactly what you see in football. They have film on her now, and she's going to have to figure out how she's going to address that, because people, especially got teams like Virginia Tech, know what to do to jump on top of her. And what happened is about 3 innings into it, the coach rallied The manager got everybody in the dugout on the Virginia Tech side, and you couldn't really tell what he was saying, but you could see that he was like super confident, like Coach K-esque, like basically drawing it out and saying, "Hey, boom, 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 this is what's going to happen." And sure enough, fellas, they got out there, and basically what come to find out is the game plan was hit the first pitch, because whatever Cagle was doing, she was throwing it right over the plate first pitch. And guess what, man? They ended up beating them bad the first game. The second game was a little bit better, but still struggling to get hits, still struggling to get on base, still struggling in fielding to get people out. I mean, there were a couple of times where they had to force out at short and they bobbled it. Or at second base, they bobbled it. They had to force out at third base, they bobbled it. And they had an easy out on from third to first, and they bobbled it. And it's just like, oh man. And then your graduate transfer dad, former baseball player, Sam Russ, leadoff hitter. She's in left field. You think that, as much as she's played, she's not going to make any errors. It tips off the edge of her glove, and she misses a ball and gets double base or two bases. So in softball, because the bases are a lot closer than in baseball, you make a fielding mistake like that, and it hurts so bad, man. Especially when your pitcher, your superstar in Valerie Cagle, wasn't feeling it. And so that's what happened Friday. That's a little bit happened Saturday. And then Cagle got on the mound again and was stronger on Sunday. I felt like they had a chance, but then sure enough, they just kept chipping away. Virginia Tech was just way too strong on at the plate. And then on the flip side, Houston, you mentioned it. They had Roche, I think was her last name. I mean, right now she's got that she's just in that zone. I mean, that pitcher for Virginia Tech, I don't think even if Clemson was number one in the nation, they would have got many hits off of her. So it was at best you were going to hope for taking advantage of the minimal opportunities that you had. And it just didn't work out. They very rarely had any opportunities at all, like I said. So it was pretty frustrating for the Tigers. And again, like we say with the Braves, whenever we watch the Braves, it's like every time somebody plays the Braves, they give up a first. Well, that's what happened with the Virginia Tech, man. Valerie, there was a girl came up. I can't remember. I think her name was Morgan, if I'm not mistaken. She got up, knocked her first ever grand slam. You don't think that's ever going to happen against Val, especially in a big, top 10 matchup. You don't think that's going to happen. She's not going to give up a first ever grand slam to someone. Sure enough, she hit that sucker off one of the poles in center field. And then she gave up later on Sunday another first time ever home run to another girl. So, again, a weekend of first on the bad category for the Tigers. But they were able to make up for it. I think Tuesday they had a game and they were able to do either Tuesday or Wednesday. They were able to do better. But even John Rittman said he said they're still working through their kinks. They're still trying to figure it out. And they're still, don't get me wrong, even with all the struggles, they pretty much can beat most teams. I mean, but we're talking about a team that wants to be a top 10 team, a top 5 team. Those little things are going to be the difference maker, in the postseason.
Yeah, and I mean, I think part of this is, and this is just purely speculative here, as we see. Thank God for baseball, the baseball team this year. Amen to that. I think this is speculating here, but you haven't had a chance for this team and this program to go through growing pains yet.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I would call it.
Yeah, 2020 got canceled halfway through. 2021, you're still the new hot program on the scene, and that nobody really had seen much of. So that was the first full season that you surprised everybody. So this year, people have picked up on it, and now you have to adjust. And I mean, the other thing is when you tamp your expectations, Virginia Tech is a top 5 team with that pitcher. That pitcher is phenomenal. I watched when Clemson played them last year, and she destroyed Clemson. She's very good.
She's back at it.
She's back at it again.
Somehow they were able to beat her in the ACC tournament.
Yeah,
but I didn't watch that game, so I don't know exactly what happened. But they got to get back to whatever they did then.
Yeah, so you just got to give it time. It's growing pains for this. It's their entire program. It's Team 3. So, and this is what I would say the equivalent of. I wouldn't say a sophomore slump. They're not slumping, but it's just figuring out the next step for that. So we've hit 7:40. We've got about 20 minutes left, and there's a few things I want to touch on football wise, and maybe if we go through that, there's some other big things like some big trades in the NFL and some things that happened tonight with the CBA, with the MLB. We got baseball coming back, thank goodness. But the main thing we wanted to talk about tonight, football wise, spring practice is back, baby. Football season, sun splash days in Clemson, South Carolina. We're coming around on the spring game, fellas. It's coming up. And I don't know if you've been reading the latest scuttlebutt around Clemson, but seems to be a little bit of war at quarterback going on. And some other things. Well, let's break it down like this. Let's talk a little bit about what we've heard on the offense, kind of the big position battles, some worries going into spring. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people out this spring simply because what happened last year and everything. But what we're reading in early returns are favorable and unfavorable. Al, what you hearing out there as far as offensively, some of the names that you're hearing, some of the big storylines going in the spring practice or into the spring game, that is?
Well, I mean, one of the biggest storylines, of course, is center. And we've talked about the offensive line ad nauseum here. And obviously there's the main storyline, but I wanted to get something a little different in here. Center is a big deal. And Will Putnam moving to that position, I think that's going to be huge for our development and getting our best five on the field, so to speak. And he's going to have to take over that role. Last I read, I think he had a great practice yesterday. Obviously those interviews and what they say in those practice interviews you got to take those with a grain of salt sometimes and see what happens. I'll wait till I see it on the field for sure because of these quotes in practice and post-practice, I thought we were going to be a better offensive line for like 3 years now. So you got to kind of step back a little bit and separate fact from fiction there. So hopefully, we'll continue to improve there, and guys will continue to get healthy. Dedrick Pennington will come back, and that kind of thing. I think another storyline is the running backs. We don't have any except for Phil Maffa really right now. Now, hey, Phil Maffa is a great running back, and that's one thing I'm not concerned about because Kobe Pace and Will Shipley, they're going to be able to come back right back and do what they do when they're back from injury. So I'm not concerned about that at all. And of course, the biggest storyline is the quarterback. What's going to be happening there? I've heard nothing right now to make me think that it's anything but DJ's job. And of course, obviously, this is going to be a fight into the season. If he slips up like he did this past year, I mean, yeah, it's Cade's opportunity to come in and kind of take control there and see if he can make a name for himself and get in and try to get in, as a freshman. But right now, my belief, I don't know if y'all, think anything differently, but they've talked about DJ slimming down. They've talked about him being more accurate so far, being more confident. I think the way he's carried himself, so, with the interviews and such, I think it's all positive. I'm really liking what I'm hearing from DJ. And so right now, to me, it seems like it's DJ's job.
Okay. So, Morgan, I have a separate question for you before then, but I have one more for Al. I heard this about Peyton Page making a move. That's all Dabo said that week. I don't know if that means he's making a jump or he's making a move positionally. So, I mean, I wasn't able to listen to that. Did he mention, if he's moving positions? What does that mean?
No. That just means he's made a jump. He's made a jump from where he was in his development. I think losing the weight, making the commitment, and that kind of thing. So, and that, hey, music to my ears because we're, everybody's worried about DT after this season, especially with recruiting and the low numbers there. So, having one of our former 5-star type guys, make that big a jump is a big deal for the future.
Yeah. So, all right, Morgan, here's the parlay. We're going back to offense because that's why I mentioned Peyton Page at first because I thought he might be making a move. So here's the thing. Who, in your opinion, Morgan, has a bigger prove-it year, all right, going into next year? Is it DJ Uiagalelei or is it another name we've heard offensively, Joseph Ngata? Who, in your opinion, has a bigger prove-it year? It doesn't. I know they're two different positions, but who has a bigger prove-it year?
So when you say prove it, just to make sure that I'm understanding the question, they need to prove it themselves, or do I think they will prove it?
They need to prove it themselves.
Okay. Well, I mean, I got to go with DJ. I mean, the offense runs through the quarterback in any team, and he has to be able to prove himself. And he has what it takes as far as talent-wise to do so. And he's going to be in the spotlight to do so. And he needs to. The way that this team is going to go, the way that the schedule shapes up, to me, he needs to be the leader. Now, I know a lot of fans out there saying it's over with. I posted a positive post about DJ, about how he looks good. He slimmed down. He seems happy. And guess what? He's smiling a lot more. And, I'm not going to discredit the positive stuff. I got about 700 likes on that on Twitter, which is a big deal for me on Twitter. I don't get a lot of likes. And I got a ton of likes over on Facebook as well. So there's a lot of people that are encouraging and behind DJ Uiagalelei, and that cannot be understated at all. But there are still some of those players or fans out there, quote unquote fans, that claim to be fans, that are just like, you know what, I'm done with him. And if you're a true fan, if you're a true understander of the game and how college football works and how the team aspect works, and if you're really someone who wants Clemson to be good, you do not want Cade Klubnik to have to start the first game, the second game, the fourth game, or the sixth game. I mean, to be honest with you, you want it to be a linear progression between the two, a normal front seat, back seat, and then all of a sudden get out and go to the NFL or wherever you're going to move on and graduate and then take over. You want that normal change of the guard, and it's not going to happen if DJ doesn't step up. Now, could DJ get jumped by Cade? Yeah, maybe he could, but that's not, in my opinion, the best formula for success for the team as a whole. You want DJ, if you're a true fan of the game and you understand how it works, you want DJ, we need DJ as fans to be good, and it seems like he's doing the right things. He's come out and admitted, hey, things off the field have really bothered me last year. Hey, by the way, my knee really bothered me last year. I didn't say much about it. Hey, by the way, my finger bothered me. I talked to a guy who's in the know, and he said, DJ really cares. This is a guy who's in the know. I'm telling you, behind the scenes stuff. Got phone numbers upon phone numbers, a Rolodex. Said, hey, DJ really cares. It's not the dumb Bojangles crap everybody puts up or the Dr. Pepper crap. It's so easy to pick on him about that stuff and to go, take advantage of his opportunities that he can. But it's not DJ's personality. He is definitely trying to do his best. He's just like Al said about Brad Brownell. He's not out there going out to lose. He doesn't want to aim low, he definitely wants to do good. And so I think that DJ, again, he has the biggest prove it year because he's got all the stuff weighing on his shoulders. I would not want to be in his position, to be honest with you, but that's what you have to do when you're the quarterback. You have to take that and you have to run with it.
The only rebuttal, because don't get me wrong, I believe DJ, this is a huge prove it year for him. The only rebuttal I'll say to this, as we see John's comment, we may not realize how much DJ was hampered by leg and finger issues. We'll find out a game or two. The rebuttal I have to this plays into that. He has a game or two or three or four, maybe even more than that, to secure the job next year against Cade Klubnik. Mm-hmm. I don't think Joe Ngata has that time allotted because, to me, the wide receiver room is the whole room is trying to get better. You got Bo Collins, Dakari Collins. You got Adam Randall, who looks like baby DK Metcalf. You've got Antonio Williams. You've got all these guys that are coming in. Joseph Ngata was brought to Clemson to be an alpha. And this is, to me, it seems like his last year. We thought, and this is his last year to prove that he's an alpha. Now, we've heard every year from Dabo that Joseph Ngata is a freak. And a lot of times, in the end, Dabo ends up being right. We heard all this time about Cornell Powell, and we were like, what is this? And until in 2020, you're like, whoa, he is really good. And so what I'm hoping is Joseph Ngata turns out to be like Cornell Powell in the sense that he's just a late bloomer. He needed to do this. He needed to get healthy and stay healthy.
Yeah, that's what I want to say to answer the second part of your question is, I think that he is that. I think he has shown that he's made those catches. He's gone up in tight one-on-one coverage. He's made those slant routes. He's brought the ball down. He's converted third downs. He's used his power. But again, the one reason why it's not as much important to me for him is because he's easily replaceable, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And to your point, though, can he make it to a point where he's not easily replaceable, where he has to be out there? That's what we expected from him from California, and we haven't gotten that. We've gotten a guy who not only has to be replaced in a necessity to be replaced because of injury, but also to the point where, they have so many other players there and ready to take over those positions that he can. Dakari Collins is coming for him. Adam Randall's coming for him. I mean, EJ Williams may be even coming for him too if he can get healthy. But again, if you don't get healthy and stay healthy, as you mentioned, I'm going to just back up you here. If you don't get healthy, stay healthy, you're playing somewhere else like Frank Ladson.
Yeah, I agree. So, all right, we're moving to the defensive side of the ball. Seems to be a lot of like great performances thus far, a lot of intriguing moves that we've seen. Big Al, let's talk a little bit about the defense. What are we hearing there? I know we've heard some moves as far as linebacker goes. Corner seems to be like it's going to be a battle as far as who's going to start playing time, everything like that. And then the defensive line, I mean, it's pretty obvious it's going to be the anchor of the defense. But what's kind of the big storylines going into the spring game for the defense?
Well, I think it's the depth at cornerback for one right now, and of course the athleticism at linebacker. That's something we talked about one or two shows ago. I think the athleticism at linebacker is going to be potentially the best it's been at Clemson, and that's great because we haven't had that in a long time. We've had some players at linebacker, make no mistake, and we've had good linebackers, but it seems like we always have these guys, but they're great in the run game, they're great field generals, but covering in space can be a problem at times, and it has been. And you really think that with this group, maybe that's not as big of a problem. So I think that's a big deal. The lack, you lose Andrew Booth, you lose Mario Goodrich. Those are your two main corners. You got to have some guys step up, and I think we have talent there for sure. But hey, one of those guys, the freshman that came in, Jaden Lucas, he's now he's got to have shoulder surgery. It seems like. I think he said that he's going to play, and then after the spring game or something, maybe that he's going to have some surgery on that, or maybe before the spring game. So that's not great for his development. Obviously, that'll hamper him a little bit. So you still have Toriano Pride, and of course you still have Wiggins and Sheridan Jones as your two main guys. You would think to step up there. I think that's kind of the question. These receivers, who they're going to be going up against in the spring game. Maybe we'll be able to brag on the receivers. I hope we're able to brag on the receivers, especially the Ngaidos of the world. Everybody wants to talk about the shiny new toys, and Adam Randall and such. But I think the corners being able to with very low numbers. They're going to have to cover these studs we have wide receiver. It's going to be real interesting to see how they do it in the spring game.
Yes. Now, pulling up the linebacker list here for 2022. You can see there you got 4 juniors: Levante Bentley, Keith McGuire, Sergio Allen, Trenton Simpson. 2 sophomores: Barrett Carter, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and then 3 true freshmen: Wade Woodaz, Kobe McLeod, and then TJ Dudley. So you got 9 total there. And again, like Al was saying, I mean, you're replacing Jamie Skalski, you're replacing Balin Spector, you're not replacing Trenton Simpson, but you got to replace your middle linebacker. You got to replace your weak side linebacker. We didn't mention Bentley last week, but a lot of people called us out in the comments and said, "Hey, you guys are all talking about Jeremiah Trotter being the middle linebacker. Well, don't forget Levante Bentley being the middle linebacker." So I don't know who's going to end up being middle linebacker, Keith McGuire, Bentley, or whoever it may be in the middle. But I think we mentioned before we expect to see heavy doses of Trenton Simpson and Barrett Carter on the field at the same time. Then that last third guy, I guess maybe Bentley or Trotter, depending on who wins it out, right?
Yeah, I would, yeah. Now the thing that I'll bring up really fast, because we've got 5 minutes left, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, either one of you, but did Dabo say in his presser that Barrett Carter could play in the secondary, like the could play safety? He can say Barrett Carter could play safety. That's insane.
That's kind of what we recruited him as.
I thought that was what he was on 24/7.
I thought he was going to be a linebacker. I thought he was going to be more the nickelback kind of guy.
I think that's what Clemson had in mind, but I think a lot of people had him at safety, and I'm pretty sure Dabo said early on that that he was going to be a safety. I think knowing all along that he was probably going to transition to linebacker, and like a lot of people are talking about, I think Bentley there's a good chance, and we've been talking about Levante Bentley for a long time. When we went to talking about Jeremiah Trotter, we were more talking about the athleticism and how cool it would be to get all three of those guys on the field. But Levante Bentley himself, he's very similar in athleticism to what we've had there. He's a hard what's going to be most important to the coaches and what's going to happen. But it wouldn't surprise me to have McGuire there. It wouldn't surprise me to have Bentley there. And I'm okay with either one. But when we're talking about the athleticism and the potential there with the move of Trenton Simpson and whatnot, I think having Jeremiah Trotter there would give you the most athletic linebacker core that Clemson would have.
Yeah. Sorry about the technical difficulties there, folks. If I looked a little stunned there, what was going on?
Al, during your speech there, you kind of, for whatever reason, we flashed.
Everybody disappeared.
Yeah, for a second.
We all got snapped away. Thanos got a hold of us after that one. So that's what happened. Well, all right, we got 4 minutes left. I want to do something a little different. We focus on Clemson sports. That's great. But there's some big news outside of Clemson that has happened, and I just want to get everybody's opinion. First opinion goes to the Packers fan. Al, Aaron Rodgers, back in 2022. Your opinion, sir?
So, on the face, I'm happy because, it gives him the best chance to make it back to a Super Bowl. And I'm all for that. Like I said, I've got tired of Rodgers crap and his prima donna ways and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine. But again, at the end of the day, I'm a Packers fan. And if he's the quarterback, okay, cool. So I can roll with that. But it's honestly, I'm not as shocked as everybody else was. There's been a lot of talk about him going somewhere else. But I thought Green Bay was going to kind of cave and pay him anyways. So, and that's exactly what happened. Now they got to find a way to keep Devontae Adams around.
All right, Morgan. Second thing, the big trade thus far this week, Russell Wilson traded to the Denver Broncos. And now the Drew Lock era is happening in Seattle. What say you? What happened between the Seattle Seahawks and the Denver Broncos?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm still learning about the NFL, and I've always followed Clemson, but I want to get into the NFL a little bit more. When it comes to Russell Wilson, I think he still has years left where he can be successful, and I think it's a great. I think he needs to be where people want him to be there, and it seems like Denver really wants him to be there. They did have to, they gave up a lot, I guess, to kind of trade him. It seemed like it was like Russell Wilson and a long list. I hate when you get these long lists, but to be honest with you, it's one of those things. Do you really want to, you can't dump everything that you have in this year's draft because the quarterback position is kind of trash. So this is really, and you can't do it. Everybody's talking about Deshaun Watson. You can't do it to Deshaun if you're unless you're crazy like the Browns seem to be. So you can't do it for Deshaun. So what's your next best up? Well, you're going to go all in for Aaron Rodgers, and then he's gone, right? So then Russell Wilson's really a great next step for you to go all in on. So for the Broncos, I think great. Jerry Jeudy seems to love it. Jeudy, if you noticed, Al, I don't know if you don't follow Twitter, but Jerry Jeudy did the frowning emoji when Aaron Rodgers announced that he was staying, and then he immediately did the happy face emoji when Russell Wilson got picked up for him. So
I got you.
And then on the flip side for the Seattle Seahawks, I guess they're in a rebuilding year because Locke is not going to be somebody that you're going to want to build your franchise around. So it all starts with the quarterback. I don't know much about it, but another thing too. This is completely off subject since we're towards the end.
Way to go, Houston.
But Al, Cooper Ingle gets in. Cooper Ingle says, "Y'all doing any baseball videos this year?" Now I don't know if this is the real Cooper Ingle.
Yeah,
sure, of course, right?
Cooper Ingle.
Who else would it be?
If it's the real Cooper Ingle, then say you're the real Cooper Ingle, man.
Let us know for sure. I saw this comment pop up, and I was getting ready to do this. Excuse me, guys. I have to interrupt for a minute because I think this might be Cooper Ingle asking about baseball videos. But I'm glad you put that up there.
Is this 444 Cooper Ingle that I just got done bragging about? 30 minutes ago.
Yeah. So what a great year, by the way, that Cooper Ingles had. And we haven't done any specific baseball videos like we did last year with Around the Bases. And to be quite honest with you, it's because I just haven't found the time. I actually talked to Corey Welch about this not long ago, and we were trying to set up something. Maybe we can do this twice a month or something like that, because I really do love doing the baseball videos. It's one of my favorite things because I love Clemson baseball. I watch you guys every weekend. and that's something I want to do. But for now, on the Morgan Thomas show from 7 to 8 on Thursdays, that's what we do. We have a little baseball segment, so I still get my Clemson baseball love in there, my spiel out there. Have a good time with it for sure.
Wow. I mean, name another show that talks about baseball as much as we do. I mean, but exactly. I will say, Cooper, we are we're not former, but we're all Clemson graduates here on the show.
Wait, time out for a second here, man. All right, me and Al talk about baseball all the time here, man.
So, I have done a video. I have done 2 videos, actually, by the way. So I have done those. I don't know much about baseball, that's for sure. Other than I'm not that good at it. But what I will say is, if you're looking for Clemson content with baseball, these guys are at it. But I will say too, this isn't our full-time job. So we are all Clemson graduates. We all love Clemson athletics all together, and we definitely wanted to not just be football. Even though I wanted to be football, the other guys said, hey, no, we need to give some baseball some love. And, it's been great. I mean, as we mentioned before, this is the year where it seems to be clicking for the baseball team. It seems to be really getting together. And, anytime you got excitement like this, man, it just contagious. I mean, I love it.
No doubt. It's a lot easier to be good when you've got a guy like Engel, protecting Grice in the lineup too. So that's pretty awesome. It's kind of nice to have somebody like that. And he's had an awesome year. Batting average is great. So it's been good to see. And I'm going to be watching every weekend as always.
Same here. And then the last point here, we don't even have to go into this. I just want to say this. And I haven't checked officially, but I feel like Cooper will be happy that the owners and the players seem to have come to an agreement. Baseball season's on opening day, April 14th.
I got to ask you guys this. So they're getting rid of the DH. Are you guys for that? They're getting. I mean, not getting rid of it. They're adding the universal DH. Sorry, I said that backwards.
Right.
I actually, it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet because you're not going to get those home runs from, the pitchers anymore that what? I can't believe it. You know what I mean? So, but I will say for the overall game, I mean, I don't mind seeing a big bat up there either, just clobbering it. So, as a fan, as a traditionalist, I'm going to miss it.
I mean, if we're talking about someone, granted, I like the universal DH because it's in college baseball. Think about Cooper Engel listening to us. He's the catcher. His buddy, Jonathan French, also DHs. So we get to see them on a daily basis. I want to see that when the Braves get a chance to do that. So, I'm all for it.
I think y'all talked about this before, actually. In Houston, I remember Houston was all for it. He was talking about it. This might have been a year ago when he was talking about it. But Houston was all for it. And I told you, it's funny because I'm a baseball traditionalist, and I don't like the DH in Major League Baseball. But it's never bothered me in college baseball that we have the DH. So, as long as we get a good Clemson hitter up there, I really don't care. I'm all for it.
So what about the shift? Now, it seems like they're going to ban the shift, but they're not going to do that this year. They're going to do it next year. Now, I asked Brandon Scarborough, a friend of ours from school, who played at Anderson University and played baseball. Now, he's a pitcher, and so he's from a pitcher standpoint. He hates it. He wants to keep the shift, and he says those batters need to figure it out. That's what he says. But it seems as if that's not how it's going to go. There is definitely going to be a ban on the shift starting in 2023. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. I don't think you should be able to ban the shift. I mean, you just learn how to, like Cooper, learn how to hit the other way. He's done that a lot this year. I think that's something everybody needs to do. I actually saw a tweet somebody posted or something like that. It said, imagine banning the cover 2 in football because they can't throw into a tight window. Just learn how to do it. It's that simple. I just don't understand. I think it's embarrassing, that we have to do things like this and make these kind of ridiculous rules. But you know what? I don't know what the message is or what they're trying to do. I guess they're trying to bring the fans back and whatever. Do them, I guess. I'll continue to watch.
Yeah. Cynthia Gilstrap calling me out for the logo here. Says, who are the other 2 guys that can't read the small writing?
Yeah, Morgan, why are you doing that? Especially when you have me leading the show, dadgummit. Come on, man.
I should have changed it to the Mr. Houston Burnett show for today.
Or at least just make it 12-point font or something like that.
Cynthia, this is what happens when you're the guy who produces the show, but also the guy who does the graphic design. You get to make your name a lot bigger than the other name. So that's how it is.
There we go.
And our names are showing when the comments aren't showing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Oh, no, they're in the corner right now.
Yeah,
there they are.
Oh, I thought she meant the logo. Maybe she
probably did mean the logo.
All right. Yeah. I don't understand why, in this system, our name tags are so freaking smaller than the other system. I don't really know how to make it bigger. I'm sorry. I just claimed I was a graphic designer and I have no idea how to make the text bigger.
Move on from that.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Well,
sorry.
It's 8:05 and we're already talking about logos. I think it's time
Let's do it.
All of us here from the Morgan Thomas Show, or tonight, the Houston Burnett takeover of the Morgan Thomas Show with Big Al and Morgan, we thank you for listening. Tune in all week long to, as Morgan always says, smash the like and subscribe button on the page. We try to put out weekly content. We'll try to be doing a little bit more over the off season. So like that, follow me on Twitter at Radio Guy Houston. Follow Morgan at The Morgan T Show. And as always, we will see you. I can't believe I'm saying this. We'll see you at the top of the hill.
You did great. Tiger fans, Greenville is a wonderful place to call home. And take it from me, a great place to grow your family. The housing market can be an extremely competitive and intimidating place if you don't have the right agent. That's why we recommend our friend and local agent, Lana Smith with Live Upstate SC Real Estate. She is a native of Greenville and has been serving the needs of families in the upstate for over 20 years. You need an agent proficient in navigating the world of multiple offers who will put your needs first and guide you through the process. Let Lana help you achieve your real estate goals. Call her today at 864-608-8313. Again, that's 864-608-8313. And let's get moving. If you're looking for a great atmosphere and good food, you have to check out the Charleston Sports Pub. They're the premier sports bar location in South Carolina with locations in Clemson, Greenville, Goose Creek, James Island, Mount Pleasant, Summerville, and West Ashley. Watch all the games while you have fun playing all their games. Tiger fans, we dine there, legends dine there like Taj Boyd, and so should you. Go eat at the Charleston Sports Pub in Clemson every game day. 359 College Avenue, Clemson. Family owned and operated, serving Anderson County and surrounding areas since 1980. Heating and Cooling Services, Inc. is your residential and commercial comfort expert. Anything from preventative maintenance of your home HVAC system to overhauling a commercial chiller and everything in between. If you want to breathe easier and be nice and cool in your home or business this summer or warm this winter, give Heating and Cooling Services, Inc. a call today. Give Mark or Jason Trammell a call at 864-224-7655. Again, 864-224-7655, and they'll take good care of you. Tiger fans, we don't just dress for success, we TS for success. That's Tiger Sports Shop. We shop there so much that they practically begged us to be sponsors for them. Not serious, but we do love shopping at Tiger Sports Shop in one of their two locations, 364 College Avenue and 1102 Tiger Boulevard in Clemson. If you're not in Clemson to check out the experience, stop by online at www.tigersports.com. Again, tigersports.com for all your game day needs.